Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Spoiler Warning, featuring myself, Tom Colohue. This is your premier wrestling news show, and as usual, we have a quite substantial amount of headlines to be diving through. We do try and keep you as highly informed as we possibly can here, so there's quite a lot of different details to go over for quite a lot of different areas. Most of these are wrestling news, some of them are personal news, and I'm going to be honest, lately a few people, particularly as regards the old Twitter machine, a few discords, have been right peeing me off. So when people attack you, the people watching this, the people who've been there for me, I get annoyed. So I'm addressing some things. Firstly, we'll talk about Asuka, the fact that she's been removed from live events due to potential injury, what the plan is there, what the reasoning is, etc. We're going to talk about the arrival of Mercedes Mone, how Tony Khan is using the media at the moment to benefit her, what she's looking to promote in her time in AEW, as well as whether she's going to be face or heel. We're going to talk about Raquel Rodriguez being pulled from the roster. We've already reported that here, but now that it's getting out, there's also a lot more details as to the sort of domino effect that's having on a lot of different people. So we're going to respond to something which I can't pretend I haven't seen. Basically, someone accusing me of the dastardly effort of telling you what's actually happening. Horrible, I know. Let's get into that one a bit later. As well as PWInsider confirming 3 of my reports in one day, as usual with no mention of me. We're going to talk Brian Gewirtz calling out an incorrect report, Becky Lynch in the White House, Bray Wyatt for the Hall of Fame, Becky Lynch, her current use on the creative team, and many of the women benefiting directly from it. That includes Liv Morgan, for example, and a little bit about our plans for Twitter, my current mission to buy a house, and what our plan is for WrestleMania. We have 67 people here already, 13 likes. What we're going to try and do is what we were trying to do last time, and try and get a lovely big amount of likes. We're going to do it a few different ways. Before I get to the top story, which is as regards Asuka, what I want to see from you, if you haven't done it already, hit that like button, and I've also pinned right at the top of the chat the link to the tweet declaring that this show is now live. So if you're able to, please share that, or just click on it, have it open on your screen, and before you know it, that's going to massively boost the amount of people seeing it. So if you can, I will retweet any quote tweets about that tweet, okay? If you quote tweet the announcement tweet, I will share it too. That helps all of us to grow and share. So let's start with our first piece of news. 27 likes, 3 more to 30. Let's get this rolling. Asuka has been taken off of live events for the foreseeable future between now and WrestleMania to assess a potential knee injury. She is likely to turn up on SmackDown, but will likely be used sort of in a background role, not involving a lot of moving around, or in fact much in the way of walking. Yes, I saw the guy mention a broken ankle, but that isn't the case, and he has since said that he wasn't actually reporting anything. The outcome of that assessment, because at this point in time, the WWE are not certain how bad the injury is, the outcome of that assessment will determine whether Asuka makes WrestleMania, where the plan was originally a tag team championship match before someone else, more on that later, became unavailable. As regards plans for this, the WWE do believe it is an injury that could well be recovered from within a short period of time. They do not at this point believe that anything is broken, but they've been wrong before. If Asuka is not able to wrestle, there is a second option. That option involves Dakota Kai slotting in under the Freebird rule and defending the Women's Tag Team Championships as originally planned in order to prevent the championships being vacated. I'm not certain at this point in time whether the championships would have been lost at WrestleMania. That's not information I have. All I know is that the original plan was to defend them, and it looks like they're trying to still find a way to make that happen. I want to say a huge hello to everyone who's already joined us, and there are plenty of you. I can see you, Brad. I can see you, Leon. Daniel, welcome. Aled, welcome. Sean says, since Becky vs. Nia was last woman standing, do you see it main eventing Raw? Yes, personally, I think that is likely indeed. Marcel says, hi, Tom and chat. How are you all? Welcome, Marcel. Good to see you. Spiderboss says, I watched Mercedes Mone's recent interviews and people need to read before coming up with clickbait about Mercedes. Also says WWE brought Jade. She trained with Becky and Charlotte and Natalya. So far, Jade has barely appeared on WWE TV. Wouldn't be honest from WWE say they have no idea of what to do with Jade. They know exactly what they want to do with Jade. They just don't necessarily believe that she's capable of it right now. And also says, I shared your Mercedes Money news with my friends. I suggested them to watch Spoiler Warning for wrestling news. Appreciate you for that. Spoiler Warning right now is growing at an amazing rate. There are 81 people watching right now. 83, I should say. We've only been live 5 minutes. 2 more likes gets us to 35. And we are steamrolling towards that 100. I know it seems very far off right now, but it's a dream that I have. A dream that I have right now to see the growth of this channel and to see this content succeed. I can already see lots of quote tweets coming in. Jaden, you're getting the first one. A like and a retweet for you. Brad, you're up next. Edward, you are up after that. So if you haven't already, if you do quote tweet my tweet announcing this show, I will retweet you. Mick says, hi Tom, hope you're very good, doing very well, thank you Mick. Must be a bit of a reassuring time for you, given that you generally report my news and you do get a bit of heat for it, but I keep managing to get it over the line, so thank you kindly for your continued efforts. Coot says, hello Tom, always a pleasure to watch your lives. You are very welcome Coot, always a pleasure to have you here. Noob says, hello Tom, hello Noob. Barry says, evening all, evening Barry. Esteban says, where is Sheamus? Sheamus is currently injured. There are a number of injuries that have stacked up similar to Braun Strowman. They just haven't been able to get him fit and healthy for a long enough period to turn up. Sean says, I see that Boozer deactivated his account. He must have been wrong about something. There's a few accounts which do that pretty regularly. Richard says, hello Tom and all. Hope you had a good weekend. I did indeed. Thank you, Richard. Marcel says, I'm very happy WWE is coming to the Netherlands during the week of Bash in Berlin for a live event. I know you don't get to go to the shows often enough, sir. I'm glad to hear you have one coming your way. King Azza says, hey Tom, do you think Cody needs more of an edge in his promos against Roman this Friday? I think Cody needs more character and definition. I would like to see him go back to basics a little bit and just get the word out that he's great now. Jaden says, is it true that Mercedes is now the highest paid female wrestler? I don't have a number. And as long as I don't have a number, I'm not going to Dave Meltzer this and just say things. Steve says, Asuka is SmackDown right. Some other YouTube IWC news has said she was on Raw. I questioned his reporting. So you should. Asuka and Damage Control are 100% on SmackDown, though they have made Raw appearances. This is essentially because coming up, there's going to be another draft. Sean says, do you think Asuka and Kairi will vacate the tag titles? No, I think Dakota Kai would step in. Michael says, hi Tom. Hello Michael, nice to see you mate. Cal says, hello Tom, hope you're doing well. Doing very well, thank you Cal, nice to see you. Spiderboss says, the curse of the WWE Women's Tag Team titles are still alive. I feel bad for Asuka. Me too. Though I don't necessarily know whether this would be the first win at WrestleMania of her career, I still think she at least deserves to be on the card. JJ says, hey Tom, if Becky and Seth don't get limited dates, do you see them not re-signing, especially since they have a child? I'm honestly not sure. I think they'll get some sort of limited dates. I just don't know if it will be what they're asking for directly. Razar says, I saw fans point out Asuka was wearing a knee brace in her last match on TV before the injury, and if she has been dealing with it for a while. There is a lot of people, unfortunately, that often at work hurt. Asuka is one of those. Ken says, hey Tom, how are you? Doing very well, thank you Ken, nice to see you. Blue says, Tom, I got my Mania ladder match just with 12 people. To be fair, that still sounds like great fun, Blue. Kelly says, hey Tom, are you going to watch the new Bray Wyatt documentary on April 1st? Of course I am, I'm a massive fan. Juan says, hey Tom, today Mercedes Money confirmed herself that her AEW deal is a multi-year deal, 3 to 4 years. Yes, as previously expected, it is currently 3 years with an option to extend for a 4th. Steve says, if Damage Control has to freebird, would it be the first time the women's tag titles get freebirded? Yes, it would. Robin Dave says, hey Tom, hope how's everything going? Going very well, thank you. There'll be some life updates still to come, and I hope you enjoy them. Ricky says, hi Tom, buddy, do you see Jade making it to Mania? Also good to see you. Happy Monday. I'm not going to be able to answer that question right now, Ricky. Jade's name will come up a little bit later. Blue said, Blue corrects and says, no, Becky and Trish defended the tag titles when Becky and Lita were champions. Thank you for that correction, Blue. Cal says, Tom, I expect WrestleMania weekend to be a huge weekend for your channel. Are you doing watch-alongs for both? We will be talking about that. I have my WrestleMania schedule lined up and I'll tell you all about it. Hector says, evening Tom, my friend messaged me earlier about the Bray documentary saying get ready to cry. Not ready at all, but this documentary is about to be a good one. Lauren says, here is needed. Glad to have you back, Tom. Thank you, Lauren. Always a pleasure to see you here. Always a pleasure as well to see you in the Discord getting furious on my behalf. Carl says the Bray documentary is going to make me cry. He deserves it. He was a legend and his creativity should be remembered forever. So Vic, firstly, thank you for your work in the Discord. Says, hello Tom, hope you're doing well. Is it possible for Mercedes to come back to WWE even after she criticised them in recent interviews? So Vic, I am yet to find evidence that the WWE have been criticised by Mercedes Mone. There is a quote going around, but I've not been able to confirm it anywhere. The quote is supposed to come from NBC. I watched the entire NBC interview, ain't nothing there. Mick says, don't worry, the hate is nothing. Your news is something very good and I don't care about trolls. Thank you, Mick, appreciate you. Shifty says, is Bullet Club Cody coming back tonight? Unlikely because Bullet Club Cody has never been in the WWE. Sean says, do you see Becky vs Nia main eventing? Yes, I do. Robin Dave says, Cody needs to be angry tonight on Raw. Noob says, I do think Dakota will take Asuka's place. I do have a theory if Dakota costs the Kabuki Warriors the women's tag titles, and if she wins the Money in the Bank and catches it on Io Sky at SummerSlam. Personally, I think Dakota Kai versus Bayley for the championship will happen first. Joey says, hey Tom, is it true WWE talent are upset with The Rock taking up a lot of TV time? Yes, that is true, and they have already taken motions to correct that. There was a report that was incorrect that we'll detail later. It's McKay says, hi Tom, missed your live, sorry, I haven't been on. Good to see you. Also, do you have a date when the draft is this year? I do not, unfortunately, have a date as of yet. The WWE have not yet finalised it, and Triple H is a lot better at keeping those things from getting out. Spiderboss says, first Meltzer, now PWInsider, both claim Mercedes is the highest paid woman in wrestling today. Well, according to them, it's all about the money. Blue says tag titles are for all brands, so they showed up on Raw and NXT with them. Yes, that's true, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are limited to just Raw. Joey says, is WWE going to keep Asuka away from the ring until Mania to avoid further knee problems unless she is cleared to compete? Yes, they are. Andrew says, hello Tom, hope you're well. Would you say this Mania card could be the greatest ever, or do you think there's other Mania cards that might be better from the past Manias? I think there's been some very good WrestleManias, 17, 10, there's been some good shows. Cal says, did you see the video of Goldberg saying Vince is the worst boss ever for the way he treated him in his return? I can certainly think of other ways that Vince McMahon might be considered a bad boss, but hey, Goldberg, go off, make it all about you. We currently have 93 people watching and 41 likes. 4 more gets us to 45. 45 in the first 15 minutes would be absolutely incredible. Don't forget, if you are able to quote tweet my announcement tweet, which is linked at the very top of the chat on YouTube, I will be retweeting you. Brad, I'm retweeting you now. Edward, I can see you there. We've got Rachel as well. Thank you kindly, everyone, for being sure to share it. This is just another way to make people realise this show is live and this show is happening without just constantly retweeting my own tweet. Also, if I can get more eyes on you guys, I want to do it. So please do be sure to share if you can. Our second piece of news is as regards Mercedes Mone. Also, we're on 100 viewers, 47 likes, 3 more gets us to 50. Thank you so much. You can see immediately the impact of these quote tweets, the impact of these likes. You can see it with the way the channel goes. Mercedes Mone is coming into AEW under the reddest of carpets. Tony Khan has organised a full AEW media tour, not with the wrestling dirt sheets, not with your Dave Meltzers or anything like that. Mercedes Mone is not interested in working with wrestling outlets. She's been very clear on that in the past. It's one of the reasons she never appeared with Fox when Ryan Satin was there. It's one of many, many reasons. She instead is getting mainstream attention, and the combination of Tony Khan making this happen and Mercedes Mone herself making this happen is seriously paying off. Tony Khan is said to be planning to build the next phase of AEW entirely around Mercedes Mone. She would be the key name in the company, and the women's division would become the de facto top division by extension of the company. They are considering at this point in time, despite the fact that he gets paid more, Mercedes Mone to be more valuable than Jon Moxley. Now, part of the way they've rolled out the red carpet is simply by upping her exposure, both for AEW's benefit and for Mone's herself. She is looking, as I've mentioned previously, to promote herself and her different companies. So this was a promise made before the deal was signed. AEW promised they would get more eyes on her than WWE do. Not necessarily ratings. She doesn't really care about that. It's eyes, and that includes mainstream media. He is keeping his word, and it will result in more attention on AEW because of her in the days to come. Now, as regards what she's going to be doing, they are dropping very clear hints about her intentions, but Mercedes Mone is going to be popping up a lot over the next few weeks. Not necessarily purely in a wrestling capacity. A lot of this will be working her way back to full fitness and getting back in the ring with confidence. She will likely be playing both face and heel in different feuds over the next 3 years, but she'll likely start heel to show off her acting skills. She has a lot to show off. She will be picking up acting roles. Tony Khan is already actively working on that as a way to try and build her profile. So Mercedes Mone is considered the de facto top of AEW. Tony Khan is giving her as much mainstream attention as she requested, and in addition to all of that, as previously mentioned, it is now being confirmed that she brought in, or at least requested, Jennifer Pepperman be brought in to be the head of a new creative team working under Tony Khan, because Mercedes Mone was not confident that Tony Khan himself would be able to handle the entirety of a creative team. She has improved the women's division already just by doing this, as I've already reported. We're going to catch up with the chat again. Next news is about Raquel Rodriguez, and it also includes some news on Liv Morgan and the original plans for WrestleMania. Zane says, I said Jade Cargill is not good. It looks like WWE agree with me. I disagree on that one because they did sign her, but they don't feel she's ready yet, so there may be something in it. Michael says Mercedes never criticised WWE, that is getting tiring. The woman never does anything. Well, it's an attack line, and unfortunately, we don't all have the time to fact check it and double check it. It's very unfortunate. As regards what I've just said, Mercedes Mone being considered the top of AEW, how would you as a viewer feel about that? Feel about a show that is led by Mercedes Mone with feuds like Samoa Joe, MJF, Jon Moxley fading into the background to make space for it? Personally, I think it's about damn time we had a show that was fronted by women, but I'll believe it when I see it. Cal says Punk slagged off WWE something rotten and returned, so anyone can come back, which is fair. Shifty, I haven't seen the Cody IG story. I'll waive my response on that one. Grayson says, hello Tom, how are you? Doing very well, thank you Grayson, welcome to the show. Aled says, Cody needs to cut a scathing promo on The Rock after everything The Rock has said to him. Will says, do women talk to Becky about their creative or Triple H, or is it both? It is primarily Triple H, but it is primarily the creative team and neither of those people you've mentioned. Spider-Boss says, Cody answering to The Rock and Roman seems like Mickey the Mouse, trademarks, trying to answer back to Deadpool. Steve says, Final Testament versus a Pride makes it to Mania weekend, do you think? Have they gotten a proper clean match yet? Maybe 8-person mixed. I would probably go in that direction. I think an 8-person mixed tag match would be a lot of fun and some great carnage. Devil said, will either Theory or Walker turn on one another? If they're going to do it, it might well be in a WrestleMania Battle Royal, which honestly I can see I can see Grayson Waller winning. Roger says, what is the greatest WrestleMania match? Personally, I really enjoyed the main event of WrestleMania 12. The Iron Man match between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Code says, WWE have been extremely unlucky with injuries this Mania and also with disgusting allegations, and the Mania card is still amazing, credit to them. I agree. Joey says, do you see Cross facing Bobby Lashley at Mania? Feels like Triple H doesn't want to give up on Cross. Triple H is actively reheating Cross, and I think in general he's doing a great job. I think it's some sort of at least a 6-man. King Azza says, hey Tom, if you have haters, you must be doing something right. In my opinion, it means they care about what you're saying. I am going to be addressing those. I've got a lot to say about that. It's right after my next piece of news about Raquel Rodriguez, but I'm getting annoyed at people attacking you, the viewer, the person watching this. Referring to you as an audience and saying that I've tricked you in some way. I consider you my friends. You know if people... Anyway, I'll get to that. I'll get to it. Blue says 10 is not a good Mania. Tom, it does have 2 very good matches though. I personally quite enjoyed it. Code said would love to see a women's non-title singles match at Mania. I suspect you'll get your wish. Paul Loden says, looking like a distinct lack of Tiffy time on the Mania card. Other than Raquel, who has her issues, it seems that the 18 wrestlers on the Chamber card, Tiffany will be the only one not to make Mania. It's starting to seem that way, yes. Though they are still pushing her and using her in what I think is a good manner. Pardon me. Aled says, do you think there'll be boos tonight in the Gunter and Sami Zayn contract signing from the people that want Gable? Possibly, yes, though I feel that would be incredibly rude to Sami Zayn. As I mentioned on Saturday, spoiler warning, Sami Zayn kind of wants Gable too. Spider-Boss says, I think it wouldn't take long for Mercedes to win the AEW Women's title, and Mercedes can be the exception considering the AEW ranking system. Juan says, TNT acknowledged her during a Boston Celtics versus Phoenix Suns game courtesy of Reggie Miller. And Slovik says, Mercedes Money is a smart woman. I agree with that. Razar says, I love this for Mercedes. As a fan, seeing her finally get that big star treatment makes me so happy. It always felt like WWE never fully backed her like this for some reason. Roger says, is Tony Khan the best booker? No, he needs a lot of help, and he's finally getting it. KJ says, what's up, Tom and chat? What's up to you, KJ? Nice to see you. Shifty says, who's host of WrestleMania? At this point in time, there is no host of WrestleMania. Blue says, I like Mercedes. She'll not be the main attraction in AEW, in my opinion. If she were, I'd think less of it. They have other people I care about more. Brad says, no problem at all as regards Mercedes running, but like you, I'll believe it when I see it. And Ed says, remember, AEW was also the same company that said 5 years ago that women would be in line in contracts and push equal to the men at the rally to announce AEW, and it has yet to happen, so who knows? A very fair comment, Ed. Hi, Jamie. Nice to see you. We're going to get to our next piece of news. Before we do, once again, I'm just going to keep pushing this because it's periodical. You can always skip it if you're watching on catch up. We have 53 likes right now, 99 viewers. 2 more likes gets us to 55. Let's see who's been quote tweeting. Let's see. We've got next Edward Brooks gets a like and a retweet to try and help the growth of this channel. Thank you, Edward. We still have plenty more coming in. Mr. Sims as well now. These numbers do continue to grow, and it does mean that people are finding this show. Some of them for the first time, which if it is your first time, please do remember to hit subscribe. We do this twice a week, and I think you're going to enjoy it. Raquel Rodriguez has been pulled from the roster, as has already been reported here on Spoiler Warning. Raquel Rodriguez did wrestle despite a flare-up of her condition at Elimination Chamber, and this is what is keeping her off the roster at the moment. She was already booked and essentially flared up the day before, so she was extremely limited in the options. The WWE decided not to make a change after checking with Raquel Rodriguez. She said she was fine to continue. The WWE decided to go ahead with Raquel Rodriguez in the Elimination Chamber. I personally think she performed admirably considering the situation. That, however, is what's keeping her off the roster, giving her time to rest and recover in the build to WrestleMania, where she will no longer appear. The WWE knew before she wrestled at Elimination Chamber that she would not be available for WrestleMania and started the process to change plans. This has had a knock-on effect for a lot of people. The initial plan at WrestleMania, I had this a few months ago, was for Jade Cargill versus Nia Jax. I reported that at the same time that I reported Jade Cargill would debut at the Royal Rumble in October. So I think that one has a little bit of credence to it. The other plan was for the Tag Team Championship match would have been Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus the Kabuki Warriors, with Liv Morgan turning heel on Raquel Rodriguez. This, of course, is now no longer happening, largely because Raquel Rodriguez is unavailable. Instead, now it looks like Liv Morgan versus Nia Jax is likely, with Liv Morgan moving from the tag match and Nia Jax moving away from Jade Cargill, who the WWE don't believe is ready for a one-on-one match. Jade Cargill, in fact, might be the one missing out due to Asuka's injury. Liv Morgan's current ongoing feud with Becky Lynch and Nia Jax was planned before the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view went live due to Rodriguez being unavailable, and so far so good. Fans seem to be really behind it, and honestly, I think she's doing some of the best work she's done in the WWE so far. Spider-Boss says, I love AEW revolving around Mercedes. Mercedes has been always that damn good. Always told my friends Mercedes is on the level of Roman. She has a chance to prove it now. Juan says, I think TK will keep his promise since he had interest in her back in 2019, according to him. Cal says, to be fair, Triple H is doing an incredible job considering all the news about the WWE. I agree with that. Koo says, do you think the Battle Royals will be put on the SmackDown before, just like last year, or will be put on the Kickoff show? Personally, I think they'll go back to the Kickoff show. Last year's WrestleMania had serious interference by Vince McMahon, first reported by me on Spoiler Warning, reported afterwards behind paywalls 3 months later. Spider-Boss says, I put you over with the Mercedes Money news after PWInsider tried to come up with Mercedes Money news. Thank you, Spider-Boss. I appreciate you. Alyssa says, better not have Liv Morgan dethrone Rhea Ripley. Should somebody new or Liv Morgan little friend Raquel, somebody benefit dethrone her. Don't want Liv Morgan big enough beat her. Cal says, Tom, I was talking about this the other day to a mate, but do you think that WWE have completely misused Braun Strowman since his return? Braun Strowman made enemies. Braun Strowman was being heavily pushed, and then he insulted a hell of a lot of the roster and ended up in a tag team with Ricochet, so as a means of making him apologise. Then he got injured, unfortunately. King Azza says, what's your favourite WrestleMania minus 33? I'd lean towards 34, personally. Barry says, I'd personally be happy to see a show with women's wrestling pushed as much as the men's, but I'm really unsure much of the fan base will be. The other Mike says, the problem with Mercedes being on top of the card is her opponents. There's like 3 women that I think are actually good. Britt and Paige aren't in that 3. Khalid, I am not your best friend. I do not know you personally. You do need your own support network. I am not that guy. I like you. I like having you here. I'm happy to have you as a member of the community. If you think I'm your best friend, that's not going to work for me. That's not going to work for you either. A best friend should be someone who can be there for you whenever you need them. I'm not that guy. D. Freeman says, I like that they want to do that for Mercedes, but I need them to first make the shows they have to make. They have to make people feel like stars who are on the rise, not people who were stars when they got there. A very fair point. Mercedes hopefully should change that system. Cal says, do you know when do you see the AEW having empty stadiums? Surely that isn't sustainable. They have people on huge contracts. I get they are backed massively by Tony Khan. They haven't been profitable the entire time, but when it comes to empty stadiums, with the arrival of Mercedes, with the media tour that she's doing now, with Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada arriving, AEW and Tony Khan are confident that they will turn it around. Michael says, Mercedes is a bigger star than any other woman they've ever had, and she can bring them more in the mainstream attention. She's going to bring a belt to a movie premiere at some point, like she did with the IWGP title. There are only a few other women in the world that can have the impact she will have, which I think is absolutely fair. Shifty says, hey Tom, quick question. Have you heard of Chris, the wrestling informer on X? And is it legit? He recently reported Seth and Becky's contract is up in June, which you already reported. Yes, and in fact, if you look through Chris, the wrestling informer's tweets, you'll find a hell of a lot of things that he reports right after I report them on Spoiler Warning. Damnably convenient. It's amazing how lucky he is, getting the exact information I get right after I do. Sovik says, Liv versus Raquel was a plan for Mania. No, Liv and Raquel versus the Kabuki Warriors. Razar says, Liv is low-key carrying the Becky versus Rhea feud, so I hope she gets a spot on the WrestleMania card. Spider-Boss says, if WWE doesn't fully trust in Jade for a one-on-one match, why not use Jade in a tag team match against Damage Control and pair Jade with Naomi? Who says that's not the plan? Ed says, interesting how people say WWE did nothing for Sasha. When the exposure they got her ended up with her on The Mandalorian, on top of the many title reigns in NXT, main roster, etc. I don't think we live in a world where the WWE did nothing for Sasha Banks. They launched her career, and she is now reaping the rewards of that. However, I also get why she doesn't want to go back, at least yet. Carl says, do you not find the timing of The Rock being back a bit convenient, considering certain allegations against the WWE? The noises seemed to have died down. Yes, it has, but that is not to do with The Rock. The Rock had already made this deal before the allegations went live. Bailey says, Mercedes is a star, but what is the long-term impact on ratings? How many additional viewers are expected by AEW to watch midweek? We will find out. Roger liked WrestleMania 7. Carl says, Thomas Sound Guy, even if he supports Liverpool, he rejects my Paul Heyman ending the Roman Reigns run. Yes, I do. Joey says, who do you suspect was behind the Boozer account? I've seen people say it was an Arabic commentator. I think it was a troll. I think it was a guy, much like yourselves, who had a bit of money and used it to basically buy all the paywalls and then just re-report all that before it got out as common knowledge. That's what I thought. Martin said, good evening, Tom, and all. Hope all good. Doing very well. Thank you, Martin. Lovely to see you. Joey says, Christoph and PW Global have been the main account stealing your reports. More on that very shortly, okay? Very shortly. Once I've caught up with all of this, we will be responding to accusations as regards that. I have a lot to say. King Alice says, hey Tom, with money, it depends how they book her, if they make her the face of AEW. Roger says, do you think WWE or AEW ever signed Chris Danger? Ever is a big long word. Steve says, are Raquel's wrestling days numbered? Not to my knowledge, no. But it does depend on what happens. It's completely out of her control. No Shifty, I don't report on things being locked, because when people report on things being locked, they tend to also say that they are, for example, 80% locked, which is not locked. Noob says, I hope that after WrestleMania, Asuka will need to heal up. I don't hope that she needs to heal up, but get to heal up, sure. Alex says, they teased a Jade Damage Control feud a few weeks ago. I think she'll face them with Naomi, and that Bianca won't make the Mania card. I have no idea what you're talking about there, Cal, gotta be honest. Andrew said, I've just quoted your Spoiler 1 video on X, telling everyone to subscribe and follow you. Show my support as always, Tom. I appreciate you. Joey says, did Raquel's medical condition cause her to sit out? Yes, it did. JJ says, seeing Becky at the White House made me so happy. Showed how popular she is. I know her book is going to do amazing when it's out. I will be buying a copy. I'll be reading it, and then I'll be giving it to my child. Ken says, I think Liv should dethrone Rhea if Becky doesn't at Mania. And Sobek said, also, would WWE or AEW raid TNA, DPW or any other promotions which has good talents? Yes, they are actively doing so and will continue to do so in the near future. All of the big dogs will eventually drain all the life from the little dogs. We all know how this goes. There are 108 people watching. 61 people have already hit like. If you haven't already, please do consider it. Rachel, I am liking and retweeting your quote tweet about this show. We have Mr. Sims, we have Andrew Quinn, we have Genuine Wrestling Fan who's connecting people through wrestling. So we have plenty more that I'll be sharing. Don't you worry, they will all get their turn. Right, so I'm going to need to read a few things out from the Discord here, because I got some shit to say about some people who have a lot of shit to say and can't back a fucking word of it up. Right. A screenshot was posted in my Discord from Sean Ross Sapp, who says, and I quote, Tom Colohue got caught making up news years ago. Note firstly, in no way does he say what news I apparently made up. Let me tell you what this is about. He believes, and he's been attacking me for this for years, that I made up a report in 2020 about NXT UK having a meeting about closing its doors and potentially moving to a different variation of NXT. This report took 2 years to be confirmed, and during that period I was gaslit to fuck, to the point that I genuinely believed people had been lying to me, and I burned bridges. Then, in 2022, in the build-up to Clash at the Castle, Triple H confirmed that in early 2020, before the pandemic hit, the WWE had meetings about closing NXT UK and relaunching as NXT Europe, confirming that this report was 100% correct. Firstly, that's on that one. He follows by saying, tried to get Gary Cassidy fired when he called him out. Gary Cassidy quit Sportskeeda and then afterwards accused me of trying to get him fired from a job he'd already quit. You will also find you can't find Gary Cassidy anymore because he fled the scene. Then made a video apologising to his audience saying he was out of the Scoops game. Again, as I said, gaslit to fuck, to the point that I genuinely believed I got it wrong. He since has come back and made his audience think everyone else steals his news. Right, so let's go into this. Firstly, I take offence to the idea that you here watching are so stupid, that's what he's saying, that you here watching are stupid and will believe whatever people say. That annoys the hell out of me. Also, I, and you guys know this, make a point of not accusing anyone of stealing my news. I believe in a free press. I just want the news to get out there. As I've said again and again and again, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Follow up though. He followed up by saying, as regards what I reported on Asuka, that was not originally reporting from Colohue, that was just observing what happened. So to be clear, he's offended by me telling people what's actually happening. Let's get into a little bit of what he said about stealing news, shall we? Just as an example, because we've just mentioned a couple. PWInsider have today confirmed 3 reports of mine. 3 separate reports. And none of these confirmed reports contain my name at all. So in no way does any of this news refer to me as the original source of it. Firstly, if you haven't seen, I had a tweet reach more than 200,000 views yesterday detailing what I've reported earlier about Asuka. I reported earlier in a bit more detail. The exact same thing was reported on PWInsider today, confirming it. My name was never mentioned as the initial reporter. Also, today, and I'm going to have to go back to the Discord for this one, a report came out from PWInsider about Mercedes Mone. Now, what I'd like you to do in the chat is let me know if any of this sounds familiar to you. PWInsider is told by multiple sources from WWE and AEW each side had pursued and were willing to commit to deals that amounted to 8 figures in total over the course of the deals, which would be record-breaking numbers for a female performer in professional wrestling. In the case of AEW, discussions went on for about 18 months prior to Mone signing. WWE came into the picture later, but we are told that top-flight execs were involved in those discussions and that WWE absolutely wanted Mone back in the family, so to speak. PWInsider is told that in the end, the final factor in the decision-making as to where to go on Mone's part was which destination would allow for stronger potential, not just for herself, but for additional and future women in professional wrestling. We are told by sources, they mention sources a lot, that a major part of the decision was that Mone believed that while going back to WWE would have been beneficial, it would have been a return to where she had already been. This includes the Sasha Banks name. One person close to the situation pointed out that Mone brought 1 million viewers, but also stated there will need to be a lot of work done as AEW tries to capitalise. AEW provided a chance for Mone to build a direct relationship with Warner Brothers, as well as potential access to their film and television franchises. There's also a belief AEW would be far more open to Mone working on acting, especially if she needed to take a period off for the forthcoming Star Wars feature film or any other projects that could require her full attention. The fact that AEW would provide support for Mone in a way that WWE likely could not at this juncture was a factor, as we are told that Mone has built a team around her to assist in maintaining physical, mental and emotional health. Few more things. By signing of AEW, we're told that Mone's hope is that she can assist the promotion growing stronger and evolving overall. Hence the signing of Jen Pepperman to work for AEW as their new Vice President of Content Development. At the end of the day, the belief from those close to Mone is that the best way she could keep developing and working on her passions beyond performing in the ring was to be in a place that would allow her to still develop her projects, not just sign her to return to WWE, where all her energy would be targeted on WWE 90% of the time. Or, in other words, the Mercedes brand is the one getting pushed. The third report confirmed was Raquel Rodriguez being dropped from WrestleMania. That's one example. In fact, that's 3 examples, let's be fair. I get annoyed by this because you're out here saying, oh, he's convinced everyone that his reports are stolen. I reported 2 months before Bayley returned at SummerSlam 2022 that she'd already been cleared, they were just waiting for the right storyline. A couple of days before SummerSlam, that's reported by Fightful Select behind their paywall. And he accuses me of saying, oh, everyone's stealing my stuff. I don't say that. I don't say that at all. Other people say that to you, and you block them. So that nobody knows. It's disgusting. Unrelated, but Brian Gewirtz, the producer and the writer behind the Rock segment on SmackDown, called out Fightful Select for an incorrect report yesterday, but Cultaholic are the ones who are getting the blame. I haven't seen an apology from Fightful. It was a Fightful Select report aggregated by Cultaholic, but Cultaholic are getting attacked by it. A lot of people have made it clear to me over the course of my career that they would always choose Sean Ross Sapp and Fightful over me because they're only concerned with their own careers. I won't miss you. Thankfully, the people here in this chat right now are better than that. Cultaholic, unfortunately, are going to be hurt by this. And nobody's going to defend them. They'll likely be forced to take it with a smile because in this business, you got to suck on the right guy. Yeah, I said it. Thank you, Khalid. Just got 2 adverts. Appreciate you letting me know that. Let's share another quote tweet. Mr. Sims, it's your turn. If you're a wrestling fan, go to the best wrestling podcast on YouTube. Appreciate you. That is a like and a retweet. We have more to come. Andrew Quinn, and of course, genuine wrestling fan as well. We currently have 101 viewers, 64 likes. One more gets us to 65, and then we're en route to 70. If you haven't already, please do remember to do so. Jalen, I did mention about Liv versus Nia. That was about 50 minutes in. By all means, rewind to check it. Cena versus Solo seems unlikely. Shifty, I have no idea. King Azza says, do you think Rhea should hold the championship until WrestleMania 31? Personally, I'd go that way. I'd go all the way to WrestleMania 41, where she would lose it to Bianca Belair. Carl says, TNA is right now reminding me of the old days. It's so fucking good. And also says, the only news Tom has lied about is when he denied he's the one to main event WrestleMania to me on his Elimination Chamber watch-along. Steve says, of course, Steve claims... Of course, sorry, you're Steve. Of course, SRS claims something from years ago, tries to pass it off as fake. Hindsight remains 2020. What a clown he is, has been, and always will be. Bailey says, what is Sean's problem? Is he nervous that you are taking viewers away or something? For a while I was. When these allegations were made against me, and I basically got shut down, Fightful Select sure got a boost. Might be unrelated. How can I say? I don't know the inner machinations. Andrew says, I think the Bray Wyatt documentary will be incredible, including the behind the scenes with the costume creator Jason making the Fiend gear and other Fiend gear. I would have loved a Bray Wyatt horror movie. Ronnie says, I heard the same thing you heard as far as NXT UK. Michael says, SRS once replied to a tweet of mine of a link to a Reddit thread about Alex McCarthy calling you a fraud. Not sure what he was trying to prove, but I don't give a single shit what Alex McCarthy said. Appreciate you for saying that. The idea, it seems to be that evidence is just the opinion of others. And the fact is that the others in question all directly benefit from shutting me down. It's McKay said, if someone is going to hate, why do they watch? Don't listen, Tom, you're amazing. Thank you kindly. Ole, welcome, says, hello, Tom, how are you? You caught me in the middle of a rant, mate, but I'm very good, thank you. Spadabos says, I have always thought SRS are jealous of you. He gets mad over people putting you over for the wrestling news. He does get very mad about it. It's funny. Blue says, Drama Tom isn't my favourite Tom, but I'm afraid to admit how high up the list he is. I'm not a guy who likes to be involved in the drama. I'm not. But every now and then, I can't pretend I haven't seen this shit. Brad says, news to get out there and to source it. Selvik says, you're truly CM Punk of wrestling journalism. Great hero and controversial. I don't think I'm that controversial. I think I'm kind of plain and boring. By and large, apart from a few individuals who've decided that I'm not, I am boring. I like that. I'm easy listening. Or at least I should be. One says they're just jealous, you're right on just about everything and put actual credible news. I try my best. I think my record does speak for itself. I got a lot of heat for the Asuka report. Funnily enough, PWInsider reported the exact same thing. Is anyone apologising? No, they are not. Eric says, I feel like Liv has come back way more cerebral. Cerebral. Cal says, yes, Tom, like this is a mythical fighter. He's like Undertaker on the road to WrestleMania game mode he don't miss. Yes, Shifty says, it's good, Tom. Everyone here knows we know you're reliable. Thank you kindly. It's this idea that I've in some way tricked all of you. Like you're stupid, and you're not. It's ridiculous. Spiderboss says, I read what PWInsider said, and that is why I put you over with the Mercedes Mone news, because it was first said here on Spoiler Warning. Brad says, it sounds exactly what you reported. Brad says, it's not about money, PWInsider. Ronnie says, that what I'm afraid of with Naomi, she'll wind up where she was in the pecking order to start with. At the moment, kind of, yeah. Aled says, no matter what SRS says, I'll always be part of this community. I have no reason to stop believing what you're saying. I think as much as anything, and here's the thing, as much as anything, my hope is that you don't have to have a leap of faith. You look at my record and you believe the record because it's right. If I'm out here absolutely shouting garbage, none of you would be here. None of you. Nobody here would be watching. So the fact that you're here is clear evidence that I'm doing something right. Eric says it literally sounds like copy-paste of you. Michael says Mercedes basically confirmed it all herself with ESPN 2. Khalid says, Tom, you're doing a great job. I'll continue to watch you no matter what. Thank you kindly. Razal says, Tom, you've been spot on everything. Mercedes, it's even starting to look like you saying she's going after the TBS title first might be true too. Sovik says, I'll tell you why they choose SRS because of their fame and money. Yeah. Shifty says, stand on business. Joey says, SRS seems like the type to throw someone under the bus so he won't have to take the blame for his own report. I have not seen anything from him about what happened to Cultaholic. Steve says, the Cultaholic business makes me feel bad for Jack the Jobber, likely to take the fall on this one. Sucks, doesn't it? Absolutely sucks. Cultaholic don't deserve that, but they've been caught in the crossfire from someone else who won't take the crossfire himself. Brad says SRS blocks them, waits a few days, attacks them, and blocks them again after they defend themselves. Mine says, could there be a claim legally anywhere with saying some things he's saying? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I don't want to be that guy. I'd like to just be left alone to do what I want to do, personally, but, you know, we do what we do. I've had him blocked for years, Shifty, so I wouldn't be able to say that. The only things that have really come my way is, like, the sexting on main and a rumour about something he was doing which he shouldn't have been doing on a stream. Ronnie says, the bad thing concerning Cena is he put over Theory and Solo, but he has done nothing with either of them. Unfortunately, kind of true, yeah. Want to say, Tom, SRS the enemy gave me a warning one time and I corrected him on a report that was actually reported by you. Yeah, that happens, unfortunately. Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you very kindly. A very generous donation from you. I'm very grateful for that. So I'd rather you be boring but accurate and correct rather than huff and puff and be wrong. That's where I am. I'd rather be boring but right. I'd rather be boring but at the same time not be throwing out all this clickbait to try desperately to get people to pay attention to me. It's not who I'm going to be. Thank you, Mick, as well. I appreciate you. Blue says, Tom, you handle the BS so much better than I ever could. I'm 35. I'm 35 years old. I've lived through so much of this crap. I'm just bored of it. Thank you, Sovik, renewing your membership for a 4th month. I still remember the first day you popped up, and I'm very grateful to you for choosing the channel. Spider-Boss says, I got attacked by SRS and Alex McCarthy for putting you over with the wrestling news. Shared your news with my friends, and SRS unblocked me on Twitter just to attack me and talk BS about you. Yeah, that's the thing. It does feel as though he has an entire army of people sending him everything. He'll undoubtedly get sent this. Just infuriating. Steve says, lots of bad opinions out there, but the facts are the facts of the matter. Make sure you're staying fit. Yep, that's the plan. Kevin says, hello Tom and chat. As a faithful viewer, I truly appreciate how much you incorporate us into the show. You're genuinely a great person, awesome work, and always remember everything is on the table. Jobson, it doesn't look like the ankle. That doesn't look accurate. David says, your record is the best in the community. Facts. Thank you kindly. Number of the Devil, I will be talking about that very shortly. Dan says, evening. Evening, sir. Good to see you. Roger says, any wrestling journalists you like? There's quite a few. I like Stephanie Chase. I like Rick Ucchino. I think Brandon Thurston's the best we've got. There's actually really good ones who get ignored because of people who are so desperately saying, look at me, look at me. Hector says, Tom, it's like you have sources or something in the industry. I just wish wrestling media wasn't so toxic and could just work as a whole to get the news across instead of throwing shade at others. It should be that simple. It should be that simple. We should all be working to share news in a public interest. It should be that simple. Leon says, I don't think you're boring. Thank you, Leon. I appreciate that. It's McCade. I'll check that out. I'm on my notifications again now. Andrew Quinn. Have a retweet. Get that out there. Get that out there. We still have Genuine Wrestling Fan to come as well. So, plenty more to share. KJ says, Tom, who's the guy that watches Spoiler Warning, takes your news tweets and gives you no credit? I spread the word that he got his news from you. His name did come up earlier, actually. Shifty says, I'm assuming you're ending the live soon because it's going on to an hour. I have a question. Is Cena going to face Randy at Mania for one last run per Boozer? No. Randy Orton says he wants to do that. Boozer's just hedging his bets. Blue says, wrestling media is sadly like any other industry. Too many people to make their money off trampling others. And Selvig says, always will support you when anything comes up against you. I will show you what I can get. Appreciate you, sir. Brett says, I'm 41 and like you, Tom. I'm too old for that shit. Remember, the Devil says, do you think Bo can be coming back to WWE? He is technically employed by them. So he says, blame Fox News for ruining journalism in general as they made it into a circus. I don't think they necessarily made it into a circus, but they certainly have a lot to answer for. Boss says, USA Wrestling has come up with so much clickbait about Mercedes. I truly get why she doesn't want nothing to do with the wrestling media. Michael says, the streams are quite fun. There are weeks when there is news that I'm not too interested in, but I enjoy the streams. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. Eric says, it should be simple, but the fame goes to their heads. Fame got to their heads. Seems so, unfortunately. Thank you, it's McCain. I'll keep an eye out for that to pop up in my notifications. We currently have 93 people watching, 68 likes, 2 more gets us to 70. We are now getting back to the point where there's actual news. So I've said my piece. I know it's going to be repeated ad nauseum. I know I'm going to be accused of all sorts. I know I'm going to be ratioed by the fan club. Go ahead. Whatever you ratio, make sure it's got a link to my show in it and make sure everyone can find it because they'll be looking at my channel and it'll grow the channel, so I ain't complaining. If this is your first time watching Spoiler Warning, please do remember to hit the subscribe button because we go live twice a week and we have a lot of wrestling news to share. Becky Lynch was in the White House for St. Patrick's Day. Yes, she's considered that big a name in America that even President Joe Biden knows who she is. Also, they may have just put a message out to get as many Irish celebrities as you possibly can. The WWE are thrilled with the exposure and eager to get more attention at that level if possible. No meetings have taken place, no one has approached Triple H, it looks like it was a one and done. But a great moment for Becky Lynch and a great moment in general for the WWE. Nor should you, Leon. I really enjoyed that. That went nice and viral. I had a great day. People didn't realise that the more they shat all over it, the faster it grew. Air quotes all the way, Eric. Blue says, Tom, this might not mean anything, but I used to be able to see the like counter go up. Now I have to reload to see it. I'm not sure why that is. I can see it on my side from like behind the scenes. But yeah, it's one of those. It used to be more active, but I think YouTube made some changes and slightly awkward. I also spotted that with Twitter. We went live on Twitter on Saturday just because we were going live and I want to do every now and then a show on Twitter as well. And it showed that I got about 200 views, but it also showed that I actively had 200 viewers, which I didn't. Next up then. Twitter's going well. For those who don't know, I recently did the actual sign up to Twitter, the idea being that over time, I'd be able to put myself into a very strong position where Twitter would be paying me for the privilege of using their service. So far, so good. As I pointed out, yesterday I had a tweet go for more than 200,000 views. That was a report on Asuka, which was confirmed by PWInsider. That means that essentially yesterday I received 179,306 views. Today so far I received 97,274. In order for Twitter to start paying me, I need an average of just under 50,000 views per day. The way I'm getting there is by increasing my engagement rate, and every day that does go up a little bit. We peaked a couple of days ago with a 4.2% engagement rate. When I signed up, I had a 1% engagement rate. So far, I've got to say, when my tweets used to get about 1,000 views, they're now averaging closer to 2.2 thousand. Things are going very well. In addition to that, for example, I can look at exactly where we are right now when it comes to spoiler warning. So far, the sharing that you guys are doing has meant 47 extra people coming into this show who might never have seen it before, because I do have an extra 80 followers than I did this time on Friday. Things are going extremely well. So far today, 54 link clicks, our biggest number this month, and it does mean that we're looking at, for example, an extra 6,000 views over the course of the year. Might not sound like much, but that one view could convert into more if people enjoy what we're doing here. Twitter is going extremely well. We are growing all over again, and I've got to say, I am thrilled with the turnout, and a huge thank you goes to all of you, for helping to make this happen. It's a big help to me, and I very much appreciate it. Hey Wrestling Arc, how you doing? Spider Boss says, for me, it's been quite good to watch. Pardon me. Some of the crew say they don't believe you, but then the crew tune in for spoiler warning for the Mercedes Mone news. They do. Eric says, I don't think you're boring, FYI. That CM Punk Survivor Series show made you not boring. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. I like riling people up, and sometimes they don't realise that's what I'm doing. Blue says, whenever you talk about the behind-the-scenes tech stuff, I find it really interesting and baffling at the same time. What I'm trying to do, essentially, if you want to grow on Twitter, I want to give you the means to do so. Copy me. It'll work. Shifty says, who do I think is the most reliable source on Twitter? Good question for yourself. Spider-Boss says, do you think Liv Morgan could turn heel at some point this year? I've reported ahead of time. I expect that. Rickon says, did Finn sign a new contract? My latest update on Finn Balor was on Saturday, spoiler warning. It was basically saying that of all the people with their contracts currently expiring, Finn Balor is the one whom, unfortunately, I think is most likely to leave. We have 73 likes right now. 2 more gets us to 75. Not much news left to go. Not much time to do it. Bray Wyatt is still currently on the internal list for the Hall of Fame. If something has changed, as Dave Meltzer is reporting, it's very late in the day. But as far as I can tell, the only thing that would have changed is that Bray Wyatt's family would have been the ones to say no to prevent it, which Triple H would have respected. The Bray Wyatt documentary has now been announced. What I will say is something that I have been sitting on for a while. There were so many variations of The Fiend that we never got to see, including the one that would have had his revenge against Alexa Bliss. There was also a Fiend version of Alexa Bliss. This documentary could be a lot of fun. I mentioned a week ago or so that I was starting to view houses because I'm finally in a stronger financial position, and because of, in many ways, of the generosity of all of you, I can now look at securing a property for my children. I can now look at building a future with my family because of your generosity. I want to take a moment to say, I've looked at a couple of houses so far. My God, I'm going to have to spend a lot of money that I wasn't prepared for. So, spoiler warning, ain't going nowhere anytime soon. But I do just want to take the opportunity to say a massive thank you to all of you. Your generosity has got me back into a position where I am actually comfortable. I'm not just surviving anymore, I'm thriving. The fact that you guys are here, even just watching ads every now and then, even skipping them after 5 seconds, you help put money in my pocket. And because of that, you help put money in my family's pocket. Maybe it's just a takeaway every now and then. Maybe it's paying for a school trip. But I'm so grateful to all of you for helping my family. It makes a huge difference. I'll keep you informed so that you know when and where I'll be moving. I obviously am not going to give you the address. That would be weird. But when I do move, I am setting up an office officially where hopefully I'll have a bit of a more interesting backdrop, and I might be able to upgrade my camera as well. Maybe even get that graphics card I've been wanting for so long. Thank you to all of you. Seriously. Spider-Boss says it made sense Bianca not helping Bayley last Friday on SmackDown. Bianca hasn't forgot what she went through because of Bayley. No, I agree with that, and I think she's absolutely right. Shifty says, who do you think is the most reliable? When it comes to most reliable, it is definitely Brandon Thurston. No question. No question. Anyone who doesn't see that is very confused. Very confused. No worries, Alec. Not a worry, mate. Like, you check in on me. Blue says, it's a sad idea to think about, but Tom, what do you think is the most tragic injury leading up to a Mania? Probably Shawn Michaels at 14. Eric says, I enjoy watching your videos. Very informative to me. Sucks to some that want to go after you and prefer to SRS. We are where we are. Thank you, Martin. A very generous donation indeed. I appreciate you. Says, what's sad though is SRS lovers would rather pay for news than hear it here free due to doing what they're told. How sad. Keep up amazing work. Thank you, mate. I appreciate you. It's very generous, and you've in many ways funded quite a lot of my recent activities. You are the most generous man I think I've ever met, and we've had some very generous people here. I'm grateful for everyone who's watching, But I want to send a special thank you out to yourself, Martin, for the constant support. And even just reaching out every now and then to say, oh, I see what you're doing with CM Punk. You get me. Martin says, P.S. Tom, my 12 hours charity stream is Saturday. I'm sleeping this week to prep. Ouch. Good luck, mate. The longest I've done is 10.5 hours. I had 2 sort of 20-minute breaks in it to eat and go to the bathroom. I played the entirety of the game The Last of Us live on stream. Had about 10 viewers the whole time. Had a great time, though. Silver says, congrats, Tom. Keep up with the good work and positivity. You deserve every happiness. Thank you, mate. Khalid says, thank you. Bray Wyatt, I'll watch the documentary. I might cry watching it, and I can't wait to see The Fiend made. Grayson says, speaking of Hall of Fame, where is the announcement of The Rock's grandmother? Still waiting on that one. Again, on the internal list that leaked out, she was there. Spiderbell says, thank you, Tom. It's good to get accurate wrestling news and a good show. USA wrestling media mostly attack me when I don't give them credit. Is what it is. Blue says, Tom, I was actually at the Rumble where HBK hurt his back. He's my favourite at the time. Didn't realise he'd disappear for the next 4 years. When I first started watching, there was no Heartbreak Kid. Yes, Martin, you're absolutely right, and I won't be moving that far. Starbucks on me. Ronnie says, it'll be interesting to see who winds up helping Bayley, because as you said, she's burned a few bridges over the last 4 or 5 years or so. Yeah, that's part of the ideal. Like, I reported most of this Damage Control storyline way ahead of time. I reported on Io Sky winning the briefcase. I reported on her cashing in. Not when, but that she would successfully cash in. I didn't have that information. I reported on Bayley winning the Royal Rumble. I reported on Dakota Kai turning on Bayley after the Royal Rumble, after she was kicked out of Damage Control. And now here we are going into WrestleMania with Bayley challenging Io Sky, as I've reported back in August, I think it was. So when it comes to this, she has burned a lot of bridges, and she will need to atone in order to be the lead face of the division going forwards. So that's what we're going to do. Marla says, mate, I don't have people on my channel who aren't genuine humans. You're a nice guy and genuine. It was an honour to meet you and have you on my channel. Appreciate you, mate. That's a very nice thing to say. Mick says, most emotional spoiler warning ever. We have shows like this sometimes. I have cried on stream before. I still remember my first hype train on Twitch. I cried. William says, do you think we'll see an opening segment at Mania 40 like we did at Mania 30 with Hogan, Rock and Stone Cold? Yes, but with very different people. Khalid says, congratulations to you and your family. Thank you, Khalid. Leon is looking forward to the Bray documentary. Says, misses him so much and gone far too soon. I agree. Alan says, SmackDown last Friday got over 2 million viewers. Good number. Man says, you've also been there offering help and guidance throughout some very difficult times and always appreciated. I'm there for you, mate. Anything I can do. There are plenty of people in here, and if you've had any coaching or advice from me on your own channels, by all means shout out. And if you're interested in that, let me know. If I can help, I want to help. Brad saying, Bayley's Atonement Tour, absolutely. Shifty says, the streets are saying, what's his source, Shifty? Mine says, okay. Too emotional, Tom. You're an insert here. Spider-Boss says, the back injury was a blessing in disguise for Shawn Michaels. Ruthless aggression HBK wasn't like he was in the 90s. KJ's interested. KJ, we've had conversations about it. Anything I can do, just let me know. I think most of you is just like, do you remember when I said, oh, you should put the year in? Something like that. Little tiny things, because you do good stuff. Little more piece of news, and this is as regards Becky Lynch and her use on the creative team. Becky Lynch is a key part of creative planning for her own current feud, and that includes all of the women she's currently working with, Rhea Ripley, Nia Jax, and Liv Morgan. All of the women involved are looking heavily towards Becky Lynch, and she's heavily involved with creative and making this happen. She's not the only one. In no way is she the only voice, but she is a huge part of ensuring that they're getting the airtime, the focus, and a genuinely interesting story. I like where they're going with it. As regards WrestleMania, yes, we are indeed planning 4 days of watch parties for WrestleMania. We'll also need to find out when the Hall of Fame is, because as is tradition, we will be live for the Hall of Fame. So we will be live for SmackDown, live for Night 1, live for Night 2, and live for Monday Night Raw. We'll be live on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Twitter, because why not? We'll just go crazy. We are going to do 4 days 4 days of watch parties for in and around WrestleMania. And I've got to be honest, I'm kind of excited for it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. It's exhausting. It is genuinely exhausting. But, well, I'll also do my day job on the money, to be clear. But I'm excited for it. I have missed the watch parties, but I've also missed sleep. Sleep is wonderful. Wrestling Art says, Tom helped us with our channel and we will forever be grateful. Thank you kindly. You do now, mate, yeah. KJ says, did I overhear you say that out of everyone whose contracts are at Balor is most likely to leave? That's how I see it, yes. Thank you, Brad. Spot on. Gotcha, Shifty, appreciate you. And Leon just says yes and fire. We have been live for just over an hour. We are going to wrap up here. We'll be back with PLE Wednesdays this Wednesday and, of course, spoiler warning on Friday. Until then, as always, we are going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for joining me. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic, and I cannot wait for this all to blow up in, well, what they hope is my face. I'm excited to see all the hate over the next few days because you know it's coming my way, and I've got to say, let's do this. Thank you and goodbye.